Hi, so this is the last of our presentations in this series, and this one I think brings a lot of it together to help understand what's going on here. The euphemism treadmill obviously is a big part of it, but there's also this, the three sisters. This is taken from some work by Jeffrey Hughes, who talked about the twins, informative weakening and emotional strengthening. And then I also added this term, social stigmatizing, to it. The idea here is that there are, again, these three aspects of meaning: informative meaning, emotional meaning, and social meaning. And I've told you, we're going to keep coming back to this idea. So with that in mind, then these can change independently of each other. But we also see that there's going to be some changing, that's going to be a little bit more of a domino series. When one changes, then you're likely to see changes in the other two. So, the idea with informative weakening, and I'm going to be focusing on the terms fuck and shit. These are kind of the jack-of-all-trade taboo words in English. They get used for everything. They're just ubiquitous. In fact, at one point, we were going to call the class fucking shit class, but that we kind of realized that wouldn't fly with the registrar, so we changed it to bad words and taboo terms. So, excuse me. We've got fuck, which until the 19th century was used with the informative meaning to copulate. And that seemed to be really its only use that we can find, is that it was meant to copulate. But we see by the 19th century, we see examples of it starting to be used otherwise. So for example, up until that point, fucker meant simply one who fucks. You call the person a fucker because they fuck. But by the end of the 19th century, it began being used with broader and broader meaning. So we start seeing fucker being used to mean jerk. And we start to see other uses, like to fuck over, meaning to cheat. Fuck up, meaning to break. Fucked up, meaning drunk. Fuck with, meaning mess with. Fuck around, meaning do nothing, etc. So it wasn't until the end of the 19th century that we start seeing these other informative meanings beginning to be used. So it's basically expanding its possibilities, and we call that informative weakening. Shit, likewise, originally meant feces. Now it can mean practically anything at all. So you can hear someone say, that's some good shit. You can hear someone say, grab your shit. You want to get some shit to eat. This is an example I've already gone over. In an earlier presentation, I think it was about the third week of classes, I gave an example from this. This was a conversation I was actually witness to, where some students at the University of Utah were walking through the student union, and one turned to the others and says, hey, you want to go get some shit to eat? Clearly there, let's hope, he didn't mean it informatively to mean feces. So we see its informative meaning has become so weak that it can mean absolutely anything you want it to mean. We also, at the same time, see an emotional strengthening with these words. So fuck. As fuck became less and less specific in its informative meaning, it began to be used purely to express emotions. So fuck as a response cry, a remarkably flexible response cry suitable to a wide range of contexts, right? So just about anything that you would exclaim to, that would be an exclamation, you can use fuck to express it. The emphatic fucking can be thrown into sentences in practically any position to make the sentence stronger. That's fucking brilliant. That's fucking incredible. I'm so fucking mad. And fuck can be used with WH words like who the fuck, what the fuck, where the fuck, when the fuck, why the fuck, how the fuck, to strengthen them. So you can say, who the fuck was that? Right? In all of those cases, they don't seem to be the fuck doesn't seem to be contributing anything in terms of informative meaning, but mostly, primarily, for its emotional meaning. And it seems to have been strengthened. So as we began using it in more and more situations with less and less precise of an informative meaning, its emotional value started strengthening. Likewise for shit. Shit is an equally flexible response cry. Shitty is predominantly used today to mean bad, not to mean covered in shit. So in other words, we're using it to mean that you feel emotionally, that emotionally it's a negative feeling you have towards it, and that you are putting those emotions onto whatever it is you're describing. We also have these expressions like sure as shit, like shit, and for shit, where the word is there, again, to add emotion to the expression. And then there's social stigmatizing, that as words begin being used more for their emotional meaning than their informative meaning, they become more and more taboo. An example of this from history is plague, which became a taboo word at about the same time that people began using it as a negative adjective. Plaguey was used in pretty much the same way we use shitty today, and at the same time, that's about when it also started being taboo and became a taboo word. So we find then these three sisters, where as it starts being used for broader and broader informative meaning, its emotional strength starts rising and it starts becoming more and more socially taboo. But once that happens, we see another process set in called saturation, where eventually the taboo words get overused, as both fuck and shit have, so that by the beginning of the 21st century, we see them beginning to lose some of their power, that they become, so ubiquitous that they don't have the emotional strength they once had. They don't have the social strength that they once had. In other words, they're not as taboo, so they lose their emotional and their social strength. So once the go-to words have become too weak, the cycle begins anew with some other taboo word. And an example that I'm starting to see more and more on the internet is cunting. So instead of people saying fucking, they began using cunting in its place because cunt has so much more power today than fuck does.